Good afternoon. It's an honor to be here at TEDx 2014-LEH. The topic that I've chosen for today's TEDx talk is the death of a teacher. This might appear like a whodunit. I'm hoping that what I say here might appeal to a cross-section of people. I know the audience has people who have come from all over the world. In the last 10 years, have moved away from the corporate world which I worked in and started visiting many campuses in India, mainly as a trainer of students, and then I started training faculty members, and subsequently I got elevated to be an advisor to owners of universities and institutions. So having been to 2 IITs, 1 IIM, having lived abroad, having recruited teachers on behalf of managements of universities, having done a lot of introspection about how education in India is going. So the death of a teacher is about really talking in 3 parts. What is the role of a teacher in society? Then what makes a really good teacher? And the third is really maybe where the mystery element of my talk lies. I have a thesis to share and an idea to put forward, and if that makes sense, please go ahead and share it. I'll use some quotations in talking about the relevance of teachers in society. This quotation is, by the way, from a very old, this is Indian culture, you know, for the sake of those who are from outside the country, I will read out and then translate this. It says, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. So the translation goes like this: the Guru is Brahma, the Guru is Vishnu, the Guru is Deva Maheshwara, that's Shiva. The Guru is verily the Parabrahma, or the Supreme God. Therefore, salutations to that respected Guru. So this is the exalted place that teachers have always had in this culture. I will come to a little more modern times. Henry Brooks Adams said, "A teacher affects eternity. He can never tell where his influence stops." Each word of this quotation actually bears a lot of meaning. So I say, a civilization or nation must invest disproportionately more in making its teachers the best they can be, because a teacher can really impact eternity. The impact of a teacher can never be measured in the next examination or the next set of courses. So therefore, I think it is important for any society that wants to be happy and at peace to invest disproportionately more in the role of a teacher. Another one says, in teaching you cannot see the fruit of a day's work. It is invisible and remains so, maybe for 20 years. So from a teacher's standpoint, you cannot really say that the teacher has done his or her work from what you see the next day or the next year. So a society therefore may not know it is in decline until 20 or more years after it has stopped respecting its teachers. In fact, some of the things we are talking about as parents, I am a parent. I have 2 daughters who have gone to schools in India and of course in the US, and I have gone to parent-teachers meetings. If you go around and talk to parents, there is a general dissatisfaction with the way teaching happens, and we might be paying the price of neglect that we did to this profession back in 1940s, 50s, 60s. So therefore, it's important to understand that there is a delayed effect of a teacher's good work and also bad work. So if you start in a society to change, suppose you recognize that there is a problem and then you start correcting the problem, the impact of the correction will also take about 20 years or more to be seen. Another quotation that says, the mediocre teacher tells, the good teacher explains, the superior teacher demonstrates, the great teacher inspires. So I feel that a nation must create systems that inspire even ordinary people to become extraordinary teachers who inspire. So a teacher is not just a teacher in school or college or university. A teacher is a mountaineer who teaches other kids to get enthralled by the love of mountains. A sportsman who wants to teach archery to others. A mother who wants to teach home science or how to cook to her kids. So there is a teacher in all of us. And we must ensure that that teacher is given the kind of respect, the kind of support, and the kind of enlightenment that is needed for him or her to perform. The late Nelson Mandela said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. So my question is, if that were true, would we be killing the very soldiers who make this weapon so powerful? I need not explain that soldiers are really teachers. And are we really ensuring that our teachers are alive, are taken care of, and are doing their job to the best possible extent? Moving on, what makes a really good teacher? I think we all know what makes a good teacher. I'm not going to talk about knowledge, competence, punctuality, discipline, command of the language. These are all a given. It's like almost getting to base camp. With these kind of qualities, you get to base camp, but you don't reach the summit. The first quality I've chosen is humility. And I'm saying this from real experience. I have met vice chancellors, I have met senior professors in well-known universities, and I find that sometimes what happens is, as people rise in their teaching careers, they get a lot of important awards and citations. The first thing that happens to go out of the window is humility. And really, a teacher, I think, stops growing the moment he or she feels that he or she is the best teacher. So humility, in my opinion, is one important element of being a really good teacher. And you may want to think about the teachers that you've had in your life, the best ones, the good ones, the ugly ones, and you may try to compare. Where did they fall on the scale of humility if it was 1 to 10? The next quality is integrity or fairness. A really good teacher needs to be of high integrity, needs to be very fair, so should not have any favoritism, should not have the blue-eyed boy or the blue-eyed girl that he or she wants to champion, should be able to take along the entire class in a very honest and high integrity manner. I think we are finding today professors and vice chancellors, they have been caught on tape trying to sell education through unfair means. Now when a society reaches that point where teachers and professors and vice chancellors have to stoop to that level of dishonesty, I think you are looking at a society in decline. The third quality. Empathy is an extremely important quality because this is what makes a teacher understand what a student is going through. A teacher is not just there to convey a piece of information. The teacher is there to understand what is going through the mind of the student. Why is one student not able to take advantage of the delivery as much as somebody else? Maybe there's a student who's going through a financial crisis at home. Maybe there is a rich student, a brat, who is not able to handle the sudden wealth that the parents have had. So the empathy brings to a teacher the ability to really understand the audience or the students that he or she is taking care of. Humor, you might wonder why humor. I have found some of the best teachers that I studied under. They had a sense of humor, and by that I don't mean that they were cracking jokes during all the lectures, but they were able to connect with people because they had that knack of understanding what tickles the funny bone. And students, being young, whether they are in college or school, always want the boredom or the tedium of a lecture to be interrupted by some laughter, by something that makes them twitter, something that makes them think about other things than the mere boring subject. So I have seen humor can be very wisely used by a really good teacher. He or she can interlace lectures with humor and make it really, really interesting. I know I'm not doing that right now, but hopefully we will see something in the future. Next, applicability. This came to me from a very senior professor. I was talking to him and he said, you know, the one reason why students don't like teachers who know a lot and who communicate very well is because they're never able to apply what is being taught to real life. And therefore, I have put this higher order skill of a teacher on this list. How to apply the knowledge that is being imparted. Finally, adaptability. Again, as I said, I'm not talking about the base skills of a teacher. Adaptability, because a teacher always comes into a lecture or a classroom not knowing the mood of the students, he knows what he has to teach, but how will the students react? What might be going through their heads? Maybe there is a game in the evening and many students are thinking about that. So he or she should be able to adapt to the situation. If we know the qualities of what makes a really good teacher, then we also should be able to find out what makes the really good teacher in a teacher die. Because all of us are teachers to some extent, and a really good teacher is what the society needs, but we are not able to provide such teachers. So I just created a kind of a pyramid. I'm not going to answer the first question. This question is, I'm answering this question through a rhetoric question. If there was a pyramid with 6 levels, the bottommost level is humility, next is integrity, the third is empathy, the fourth is humor, the fifth is applicability, and the final one is adaptability. So if you look at this model, what do you think destroys this pyramid, 6-level pyramid, the most? And you can figure out. There are some things, if you remove, things may not change much, but if you really pull out the bottom, the foundation, the whole pyramid might just come down and the really good teacher in a teacher might just die. So here is my question to you. In the way we are going, the world is going, can this world afford to add one more species to the list of its endangered species? We already have many animals that are on the endangered species list. Can we add really good teachers to that list? My answer is no. So here is my third part of the presentation, enter sports. In my introduction, there was a mention of beach volleyball and golf and tennis and volleyball. And I've been a very active sports person all through my life. And I found in my own experience that many of the qualities that were listed, humility, adaptability, applicability, empathy, all of these I learned on the sports field. So my thesis, which I am forwarding here as an idea, is can we think of a future? You know, we can create avenues for our teachers to acquire these skills, not through traditional methods of training in a classroom and having faculty development programs and teacher development programs, which, by the way, the government spends huge amounts of money on. But you can teach some of these qualities through sports. If Roger Federer has been on the #1 position worldwide in men's tennis for, let's say, 3 years, here comes Nadal, who displaces him from that position. Humility is built into sports, so humility becomes a part of that. I think we all also have seen empathy, because when you are a sportsman, you are also knowing what the other competitor is going through. You might have a very tough battle going on. You must have watched the recent World Cup, and you must have seen, you must have applauded both sides sometimes, because the matches were so close, and you could feel the pain that the team that lost had on their faces. But at the same time, you could also see how the winning team was able to go to them, shake hands, and empathetically share their pain. So many of these things, I think, are built into the very format of sports. Just imagine a world wherever teachers are encouraged, motivated, and respected for being as active on the play field as in the classroom. You will find, and if there are some teachers here, I hope they don't beat me to death, but most people who become teachers, they slowly forget that they were a student and they were active on the sports field at one point of time, and slowly sedentary lifestyles take over. Why can't they be really like a student again? Because really a teacher is always a student. For a really good teacher, always is a student all his life. So imagine, there are some pictures here. I'm not going to speak now. I'm just going to ask you to close your eyes maybe and imagine a world where teachers are pursuing sports as a pastime, as something that they devote time and attention to, because this will really bring them close to themselves and to their students. This will bring in them the qualities that we think are lacking or are being killed by themselves or by the society in them. You know, you must have heard of this. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. I'm sure you've heard of this. But every time you think of this, don't you almost always assume that Jack is a student? What if Jack is a teacher? Won't it make him a very dull teacher? All work and no play. So, my humble submission is, let teachers become children again. Let them connect well again with their students. Let them play something. Let them compete. Let them lose. Let them win. Let them realize that life is not just about going into a classroom and delivering a lecture. So imagine another world where sports, competition, fun, games, all of this becomes an integral part of a teacher's life. It is not just something that is done once in a year at an annual sports day, but something that is part of his or her life. Now the idea I'm talking about, where we are trying to say that sports can be used to inculcate some of these qualities that are really required in a good teacher or a really good teacher, is not going to be accepted as a very valid one. Some people might even say it is quite foolish. But then most ideas are when they are first heard. But it is these ideas that extend into the next level, where we are talking about making faculty, teachers becoming a very important part of the sporting fraternity. And by that I don't mean that they have to really work very hard. They have to play competitive sports at a very national level, but at a community level, at a school level, at levels where people normally play, if they are given incentives or even given respect or given a chance to show their prowess in the games that they enjoy, this would become a kind of a virtuous cycle. And over a period of time, it may take 20 years, it may take 30 years, these teachers will then become more active, more healthy. They will be able to raise kids who have similar values. And I think we will then reach a future that might give us teachers who are wholesome, holistic, and who go the extra mile in making students really fulfill their potential. I sincerely hope that there are vice chancellors, there are professors, there are directors of institutions, there are owners of universities who will take this idea and see if it can be implemented in their universities, in their colleges, in their institutions. And with that, I close my talk in memory and in gratitude to the world's really good teachers. Thank you so much, Julay. Good evening.